Nairobi.
22:08. Dr. Barak Muluka is still here with us, and Ndu has told us about how best to invest with the Standard Chartered Bank. What's the email again?
wealth.kenya@sc.com.
wealth.kenya@sc.com. Hear that, Dr.?
Yes, I've heard, and I know that you are going to seed me so that
Yes.
I get admitted.
You get into that journey.
Yeah. What we'll do is Citi will introduce you to his relationship manager at Standard Chartered Bank.
Very good.
They'll call you.
Yes.
Have a sitting with you.
Yes.
And they'll walk you through that journey.
So we have a little session behind the tent after.
Yes.
In fact, this one will have it in front of the tent.
Okay.
Bel Air tents. Dr. Why are the bishops speaking now? Someone was saying that, remember what happened when the Gen Z came out and were joined by their parents and brothers and siblings and cousins and everybody in the family who came out and said, yes, we agree with this message. And the message was twofold. One, you in political leadership are not doing the things that we expect you to do. And the other message was, we see you getting cheered on by the religious leaders, and you, clergy, you are doing it wrong. Stop entertaining these people. The church has always been a very political organ. Do you think they're playing politics by coming out now to show, you see now, we have an opportunity to actually turn and walk back to the people? Is it political survival?
I don't think so, Eric, and perhaps I've been a little imperceptible. I'm not so sure, but let me try to have another go at it. First, there are entities whose role is to balance the power and the manner in which it's exercised in the country and the responsibilities within the various landscapes. That we have got the executive, which is supposed to be in charge of government for the time being. Then we have got the legislature, which is supposed to be in charge of legislation, of representation and oversight, once again, for the time being. And there is the judiciary, which is supposed to be the umpire between you and me, umpire between you, me and the state, umpire within various instruments of the state, and ensuring that in the manner in which that man Montesquieu described or prescribed, that there is a balance of power and separation of duties and responsibilities. And then, of course, you have got the ecclesiastical space, because the entities that I speak of are within the secular landscape. And then you have got the ecclesiastical space, and their role is essentially about our spiritual nourishment. And I would expect that they are not poking their finger in every secular pie and attempting to sit in that driver's seat. Because we are a secular state. But if we want, we could also become an Islamic republic or a Christian republic and let the church sit in the driver's seat. I think the constitution is very clear that there's no state religion, there's no that kind of secular responsibility. And as we say, that when the secular entities fail in their duties and responsibilities. And let's agree that in this country we have got a legislature that has been captured by the executive. And my fears and worries about that capture began under the Uhuru Kenyatta tenure. When I had the privilege to come and sit here where I am seated today and decried the whipping of parliament from State House, so that if Martin Shikuku and Jean-Marie Serone were saying in 1976 in October that they were trying to kill Parliament the way Kanu had been killed, they should come back today and see where Parliament is.
I'm hanging on your words, Barak, because you were about to say something and I think you left it hanging. You said that if we see a situation whereby those who are responsible for the legislature or anything have failed, then there was an ellipsis. Have failed,
yes.
Are we seeing then the responsibility then of the church, who doesn't poke their fingers in every secular pie, but at this point has seen there's something going wrong? It is their responsibility to come and say, come, find your way back to the path.
May I add something, if you'll excuse me? The religious groupings and the leadership don't have to poke their fingers anywhere. They are everywhere and anywhere, anyway.
Or they should be.
No, they are, because they have members. And these very members, the people who belong to these diversity of memberships, are the very people who are in these institutions that we're referring to.
Well, these people you speak of, CT, they are actually the church. So that we have got to make a distinction between the church and the leadership of the church. And that's why earlier on we spoke about the House of Bishops, we spoke about the House of the Clergy, and we spoke about the House of Laity. When they are put together, they constitute the church. And the church leadership tends to stay in its lane, addressing our spiritual health. But when those who are supposed to be addressing our corporeal health fail in their duties, then those who are in charge of our spiritual health must stray into that space. And you can trace it even in the advent of Christianity in the so-called world that had been left behind. They arrived here with the church, they arrived here with the school, and they arrived here with the hospital. The missions that were established, for example, the Kavirondo diocese, which was established in 1904 by Walter Edwin Beecher.
You wonder why I laugh? He belonged to that diocese. By virtue of coming from a certain geographical area, yes, you are lumped together. Yes.
The Kavirondo diocese was established in 1904 by Walter Edwin Beecher in Maseno. And if you went there, you found the mission in Maseno, you'd find the school, it is there. You'd find the church, it is there. And you'd find the hospital, it is there. And it spread its wings into the entire Kavirondo Gulf. The entire Kavirondo region. So the church, therefore, will leave that spiritual space to come and help to correct. If you go into the Old Testament, because I can speak a little more authoritatively about the Christian faith rather than about the other faiths, you will find that there are people who are called the prophets. As you start reading this testament, you don't see these prophets anywhere. You only see these prophets when the secular spaces have collapsed. And you find within those spaces, for example, a prophet like Nehemiah, who will come and tell King Ezekiel that you have been given an extension to your life of 15 years. Put your house in order. Yeah? And the Gen Zs, when you see them coming out and taking over the House of Parliament on the 25th of June, and then retreating, and you see the prophets coming out, they are telling President William Ruto, you have been given 3 years. Put your house in order. They don't have to be there every day.
Which is where I'm pushing back and saying, I welcome what the religious leaders are doing and speaking. But I'll also think back to a position at time, 2020, 21, 22, when we hosted them here and we kept asking, where is the clergy? Where are the religious leaders? Where are they? We're not hearing their voice. We hosted here on 719 and kept asking, where are people like you who speak the way you speak from the pulpit? We hosted the Archbishop Olesapit and asked, where is the clergy? The Bishop of Nyeri Diocese Catholic Moheria. We hosted me and asked, where is the clergy? Now we're hearing the clergy speaking. I welcome them. But I'm also looking at it from the other side, and I posit that they are also playing a political survival game. Because when the youth occupied parliament, the youth also occupied church. And they said, we are going to church, occupy a church this Sunday, and stand up there and say, do not give these people an opportunity to speak. Because you're used to doing that. You've given them opportunities to come and speak and spew lies at the pulpit. The youth said, don't do it. The youth said, the church is wrong. The church is now correcting itself. It's not that it's, speaking because they had taken a back seat to watch things happen. No.
Eric,
the church had lost its way. It's regaining its way.
Eric, I don't want to accuse you of becoming some kind of pontiff in your own right. But I want to point out that we don't have the luxury at this moment of internal attrition and asking each other whether we are about survival of certain entities or not. That notwithstanding, I think there are also certain misapprehensions here that are deserving of correction. First, within the Catholic Church, it's been very clear, and I'm not Catholic, I'm Catholic only in the sense that Christianity is universal, but not belonging to the Roman Catholic faith as such, but I can speak for them and say that they are vindicated by the fact that they are not in the habit of inviting the political class to their days to speak from there. That I'm seeing within the evangelical and Pentecostal orders, which I cannot understand. I can also say that I have not seen that happening within the Anglican fraternity. And I do remember very clearly that during the commissioning of the Bishop of Butere, the Right Reverend Rosso Keno, that the Most Reverend Bishop Olesapit made it very clear that the politicians were to speak neither at that event nor anywhere else within the Anglican Church. It was made very clear, and I think that remains the practice. There's a sense in which, however, we tend as observers, and particularly we within the Fourth Estate, I say so because I've got one foot within this profession of journalism. Eric, you know that I was trained at the University of Nairobi and at the Kenya Institute of Mass Communications, and I've also trained people in the faith, that we who are the interpreters sometimes tend to paint with a broad brush and put everybody within the same
bundle. There we go. Come on,
within
Barack. Come on, Barack.
And we need to.
Barack.
You know, Shikuku told Oloitip.
Yes.
That in Parliament, as in media, one person speaks while the others listen.
Barack,
since you want to speak, let me hold my horses.
Please do. Please do. Painting with a broad brush is what we are doing. We are painting the political class with a broad brush and not singling out anyone who's doing things well, all right? But we're also painting on the other side. We paint with a broad brush because it's a broad brush. Yes, indeed. Like I mentioned, when you hosted those leaders here from the church, we're asking them, where are others like you? Because we said, Archbishop Moheria, yes, you speak out, but where are others? Archbishop Olesapit, yes, you speak out, but where are others? And the general consensus was, there are those of us who are speaking, There are those of us who are leading our church and saying, for example, the Anglican Church, we are not going to accept donations from politicians. Archbishop Olesapit even released a statement and said, if a donation does not come in the form of a check, well, we can trace back and say this is where the money has come from, we are not taking it. We have seen that, right? But now we are talking about the church, the clergy coming out united. They were not united before. That's the point. It's not that the Catholics are now speaking. No. It is the Catholics plus the Anglicans plus the Presbyterians plus the Methodists plus all of them.
Yes, I agree.
And they're all saying, like Siti said, they're all speaking the same language.
Language, yes.
Why now? Why are they speaking different languages?
Which is a good
14 months
thing.
ago?
Which is a good thing, and which indicates, Eric, that we have hit an all-time low. Yeah?
For both sides.
We are at the bottom. And if perchance we should sink any deeper than we are, then it will be total disaster because we can only sink into heads.
But I can ask a question. Forgive me for interrupting you. I want to ask a question. Did the church have to wait this long for them to speak? Because so many things went wrong.
The critical,
so many things went
the critical thing is not even about how long they had to wait. The critical thing is where we are. They say in Kiswahili, ushikwapo shikamana.
So you're saying
we
that,
cannot be refusing to shikamana because we are asking, where have you been? We need to be rolling this wheel.
If we don't understand the motive,
ahead,
we may get swept away.
And the motive is very clear, as we have indicated. And I'm not a clergyman, first of all. Yeah, I'm an ordinary man in the street.
No, actually, you're not an ordinary man in the street. An ordinary man in the street doesn't have your knowledge. Neither do they have the influence that you have. You're not an ordinary man. An ordinary person is the one whom the church was supposed to represent. An ordinary man is a person whom legislature was supposed to protect. An ordinary man is the person whom the government has not protected, and that is why these questions are being asked. Because the voice you spoke of, correctly so, the prophetic voice of the church, it doesn't wait for a disaster. It speaks continuously and consistently. That is what it does.
I mean,
you see wrong, you speak.
I may
you don't
not
wait for it to become a big wrong.
I may not be an ordinary man in the streets, but I'm an ordinary Christian gentleman. And as an ordinary Christian gentleman, I am aware of the fact that sometimes it's just one voice. And even if it's just one voice that is speaking to us,
and only voice speaking in the wilderness, you said?
Yeah, like we have heard of such voices. The voice of the prophet Elijah, the voice of John the Baptist, the voice of even Jesus Christ himself. And in the secular world in which we live, we have heard of the voice of Thomas More. Thomas More, when King Henry VIII wants to divorce Catherine of Aragon so that he can marry Anne Boleyn, he goes. Henry goes to Thomas More and asks Thomas More, why is it that everyone else has accepted that it's in order for me to contract this marriage so that I can have an heir? And he tells the king, look, if everyone has accepted, what does my lonely voice count for? And the bishop is told that there are those who follow me because I'm the king of England. There are those who follow me because I'm a lion and they are jackals. I'm the lion in their midst. There are those who follow me because they follow anything that moves. And then there is you. So that you, if there's been just one you who has been speaking, from my Christian perspective, that is good enough. That when I look at the book of Genesis, I see that God wants to destroy Gomorrah, and he's asked, suppose there's only one good person will you still destroy? So I think the fact that there have been those voices has been good enough. And now that they have come together, let us encourage them to keep us going, lest we should be mired in an unnecessary quagmire of filibustering and hair splitting. I thank you.
Thank you, Barak. Thank you for joining us today. Dr. Barak Muluka is a strategic communication